Hello and welcome. This is actually friggin' Luke's show, but apparently I'm the big head because he's the one doing recording. Yeah, how's it going?
Great.
Okay,
It's been a mission to get it going, so.
it has, and I've done nothing to help. I set up a keyboard though. Yeah, so I'll probably be fucking around on that to some degree. But it fits my aesthetic, I suppose. I am the Mad Arab. I really shouldn't. I hate calling myself that sometimes. I'm Eamon Denise. I have thoughts and views about things, and you can introduce yourself.
And I'm Luke, the internet devil who has no followers.
I've got like 45 of them, so hey, look at how we're rolling.
We're recording this for 200 years in the future, so it doesn't matter anyway.
It fills my heart with joy that there'll be people in 200 years, and we won't have nuked ourselves out of existence.
Yes. All right. Perfect. That's first talking point. No.
Please no.
No.
I'd rather not be in a depressive stupor by the end of this conversation tonight.
All right. No. Wait. I'm gonna selfishly make it about myself since you're the big kid.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about trying to like coach uni students for dollars. And I get there's sort of like a moral dilemma there, but I don't really care, you know.
What, because they don't have dollars?
Yeah, or just like you don't really need to charge them, but
Yeah, you do. If
yeah,
you're fucking putting your time into it and they're being little faggots, oh, shouldn't say that word. They're being little useless bitches, okay, and expecting you to ring them so that they wake up and go to fucking class or go for a run, okay? It's like, that's your time, that's your energy, and it's not exactly pleasant dealing with people that don't actually want to help themselves.
Yeah.
You know? And it's funny that you say uni students, because I'm currently in talks with the Nexus team to do a podcast on the Nexus radio station. But the problem with that is we physically both need to be there in their studio.
Okay.
We can possibly figure that one out later. And it'd be more legit than, my bedroom in the back.
Mm.
And I wouldn't be allowed to vape in there. So, which would probably be good. Because this is a stupid habit. But anyway, yeah. So university dollars, go on.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'm interested in your point of view because you're like a very no nonsense sort of coach. Like I've written like I've done sort of what do you say like the business research or whatever, and like a lot of the people doing it are just real sort of like new agey, like my purpose is to help you find your purpose, that sort of thing. Yeah, and no sort of clinical or psychological orientation.
And
So
it's
like
funny that you call me a coach. You've literally just seen me tell people to sort themselves out.
yeah, but I don't know. Like you get the fundamentals, because I don't know. That's the first question I want to throw at you. Like, say we have like this stereotypical person who, how can I word it? Basically, like ideally would be thrown in the room with Peterson and had the door locked until they sorted their shit.
Okay.
It's like where would you start, and what do you think's like the most important and fundamental things?
Okay, well, I mean, this is why I haven't personally gotten to like actually legitimizing coaching, because again, I don't like the term. It's the same with consulting. It's like you don't actually need to be there. The only reason you need to be there is because people can't fucking sort themselves out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have not sorted myself out. Okay, like the fundamentals, basic, have a fucking like routine, at least some sort of circadian framework to build around, in that wake up at the same time, go to sleep at the same time. I'm having a hard time developing that. This is a slight excuse, but it's also kind of on point. I wake up for events sometimes at 5 in the morning. Other times, I have to stay up late doing shows until like 1 in the morning. So it's really hard to find that sleep schedule that works. So last night I was up at 5. Yesterday morning I was up at 5, and this morning I was up at 11. So, like, if you've got a chaotic schedule because of your work, it's really hard to do. But it's like, I think the most beneficial thing, so let's say we've got somebody who's unemployed and hates that they're unemployed and they're doing fucking nothing with their lives except playing video games and eating junk food. That's my definition of a schedule-wise rock bottom. Okay? It's like, that's where I was at one point in my life. Okay? I was like 40 kilos heavier than I currently am. I was basically addicted to League of Legends, basically addicted to cannabis, and addicted to sugar. Still addicted to sugar, but at least I kicked the League of Legends and the cannabis. And finding a steady job forced me to have a steady circadian. Okay? And that in of itself, one, makes your days more predictable and you can build shit around it. So it's like, whether you're going to go and work out and go to the gym or whatever, it takes some of the unnecessary chaos out of your life, if that makes sense. Am I hitting? I don't know. Have I veered off the initial point?
Yeah, just, I don't know, like, you're hitting it by saying what you resonate with. I guess I've thought of things along similar lines where, like, a lot of the programs encourage that sort of, like, 9 to 5 mentality, get up at 6:30, like, sleep hygiene and all that. But then it's like a lot of people just can't have that lifestyle. It's like, what if you're working nights? And like, so then I thought, well, you could write like an ideal life. Like, you could write out what you conceive as the perfect sort of split, and then you just have like every other plan as a compromise relative to that. So it's like, okay, you want to sacrifice your circadian rhythm, then like, how are you going to make up for that in the scheme?
I think if you're going to sacrifice it, what you'd want to do is still have bookends for your day. It's like, have a specific morning ritual, whether you're waking up at 7, whether you're waking up at, 10, So, I mean, I'm not particularly good at this, but I suppose my morning ritual is, and it's not a good one, is make my bed, okay? And even, if I'm in a hurry, I'll make my bed like shit, but I'm still going through the motions, And the same before going to sleep. It's like brush teeth, like anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes to 10 minutes of playing guitar just to have like unwound. And then in bed, lights out. Those are just like the bare minimum. And then in the day, I'm currently in a stage of getting back on the horse after I'd sort of fallen off the horse due to being just ridiculously busy with work. And part of that was at least an hour at the gym every day. Whether it was at the start or at the finish, it needed to happen. And if it didn't happen, the day was lost to some degree. Another good thing to have at the end of the day, I feel, is write out what you want to do the next day. Having objectives is important. It's like, you should, a lot of the new agers would be like, you should just be happy yourself. You should not put too much pressure on yourself. But it's like, if you don't have any pressure to act and do stuff, you're never going to get yourself out of the hole. All right? It's like, wake up, drink a lot of water is what a lot of people say. I'm bad at that. I fucking forget. The water's right beside my bed, but I just don't fucking do it. And I feel a lot better when I finally do, but... this is the problem with personal development. You are your own worst enemy. All right? It's like, you know what you should do. I know what I should fucking do. Do I do it? Fuck no! But if I can put willpower into doing it, and those days that I do pull it off, damn, son, fucking shit lines up beautifully, especially when I can at least conquer the waking up early.
Yeah. I'm like echoing on your speakers now.
Okay, so I need some headphones. Further legitimizing this entire affair.
I don't know why it started just now though. It's weird.
My motorcycle burn is now hurting more, so I'm just gonna put the ice on as well.
Yeah, that's advice number one for the kids out there. Don't burn yourself on hot metal objects.
Yeah, and have a clean workspace. Again, bits of advice that I haven't followed, but I know that I should follow. Okay, is that better?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. And this is literally just a prop. It looks way cooler though. It's like, and I'm now a legit podcast, not legit podcast. Legit podcast, some tosser on a fucking computer. Yeah, look at you, legit it as fuck.
Yeah, I had to pull it into frame just to.
Yeah. Even though you're the tiny screen, I don't feel I deserve to be the big screen. Like, if I was some guy winning at life, sure, but I'm just some schmuck living in a garage.
It's just Socrates and philosophy, man. It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. And I don't know what Socrates and philosophy is. Am I supposed to eat some hemlock now?
Oh, it's the whole like humbleness. Like I don't know anything. I'm not the magician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see. Well, we've both like. See, I don't know how much you've looked into the sorting your shit out. I don't want to say like self-help only because self-help's almost like a brand, right?
Yeah.
Whereas there's like stuff that is for self-help, but it would never be classified that way. Like I've looked into it a lot, and I assume you've looked into it a decent amount, and like going, trying to find, just in general, what's legit and what's not. And
Yeah.
when I look back at everything, the just do it thing seems to like stick out as the first step because
Yeah.
it's like a lot of the time you don't need anything. It's like literally just that's the way you do it. You just do it.
I think really the first thing above all else, and I'm like, I haven't even done this properly. Like I should have considerably, and you need to revisit it. Like I've done it a few times, but defining the goal.
Mm.
It's like define your at least a few steps ahead so you got something to shoot for. Even if when you get there you're like, oh, I actually wanted to go here, you've got something to shoot for and you've got at least a direction. Otherwise you are literally just sort of drifting. I like nautical terms for this for some reason because it's like an ocean has no roads. It's just got shit in the way and you can travel in any direction, including down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like objective 1, stop your ship from sinking. Objective 2, define where you want your ship to fucking go, and then go in that direction. And there'll be stuff helping you, like a good wind. Other times there'll be shit just pissing down on you. So, and now I think I'm echoing through your end because I'm talking loudly. So I'll try and bring it down a notch. I'm very passionate.
Maybe. Might just be because my headphone's too close to the microphone.
Possibly. It's because the vanity like made you drag it in to look more legit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only legit podcasts, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, where were we? So yeah, like defining your goal, which is something that a lot of people don't do because they're scared that if they define their goal, then they can fail, and if they stay vague, they won't fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard separating the wheat from the chaff. But at the same time, it's like I've looked at Tony Robbins, I've looked at Jim Rohn, I've looked at Peterson, I've looked at Napoleon Hill, and I've also dabbled in a lot of different forms of mysticism, never practicing, but at least getting,
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, it's like, it's been a journey of so many years. Like a lot of it started with, what's the word? Like Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins, how do you start a business and get out of like, the 9-to-5 thing? And then it got into stuff like Mark Passio and a bunch of mysticism and alchemical shit. Alchemy seemed to resonate with me a lot for a period. Because, it went, Tony Robbins, and then it went like Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill's basically like the precursor to shit like The Secret. And I don't like The Secret, and I don't like a lot of that New Thought stuff because it
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
I don't think you should ever totally obsess on a goal. It's effective, but it shouldn't. When you're obsessed on an objective, specifically obsessed on an objective as opposed to a journey, one, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. Two, you'll do anything to get that, and I don't think that gives room for morality. And I want to make sure that whatever it is I'm doing is good. So I'll never totally, yeah, I don't like moving in a straight line towards goals
Okay.
100% because otherwise, sorry, I'm
No,
rambling on.
no, no. Um, like, I feel that's probably the biggest divide in all of the content is like, um, the business people versus the, I guess on the other end of the spectrum, you'd have like these sort of aesthetic, like minimalists who tell you to like stop pursuing material and that you'll never actually be able to grasp happiness and
Yeah,
all that sort of stuff. But it is
and
like,
go on.
okay, it's like it is a legit divide. It almost seems where it's like literally two camps, almost like warring at each other.
They're not warring at each other. They're silently judging one another, going, "Well, at least we're not like them."
Yeah,
Um, and it's like I suppose philosophically, I lean more towards that sort of hippie mentality, and that it's like it is all transient. You just gotta feel good with them positive vibes. But
yeah, but then you have a small business as well, so it's like,
yeah, because pragmatically, I need to eat food. Like I got a roof over my head that I need to like
mm,
maintain.
yeah,
And it's like my mom's getting old. My little brother's an art student. It comes down to me to fucking bring home the bacon and
mm,
keep this household going. But at the same time, I see that as I'm not saving up for a Lamborghini. I'm keeping a roof over my head for myself and those around me. It's like in order to be effective in this world, okay, you can't be some pious little fucking hippie type just sitting there going, positive vibes. Fuck no. You need to act. Like, you don't,
yeah,
if you were just a machine designed to fucking put out positive vibes, you wouldn't have a physical body that can move. You'd be some potato in a fucking wheelchair going, positive vibes, blessings, like and subscribe. Just,
basically the Pope. If I were in the podcast,
uh,
just imagine him in his fucking little Pope tank, like,
I'll put it this way: like we got slightly more hands-on Pope than we used to. Okay, like
yeah, yeah.
it ain't that bad, and it's like it's still better than that fucking like Antichrist Benedict. So,
Yeah, yeah. Disclaimer: I was meaning Benedict. Yeah, disclaimer.
okay. I mean, John Paul was like just like really old, so I think Robin Williams is like a really good like freaking like imitation of him. He's like, hey, like he's just like he's falling asleep in his chair. But again, it's like I'm not even talking like the Pope. Like that's a grand scheme attack on someone I don't know who probably has a lot of shit to do. It's more just like these hippie types who are just like, oh, you don't have negative thoughts. Don't let negative thoughts into
Yeah,
your head. Don't deal with people whose company like brings you down like vibrationally. And it's like you're not just a vibrational being. All right, you
mm.
are sure you're a vibrational being that is tuned into the cosmic consciousness and everything, but you're also half monkey. And this half monkey is a very sophisticated body that can both lift a lot of fucking heavy weight as well as do intricate little things with these fingers, like topping up your vape juice. And to throw away one half of that equation is fucking stupid. It's fucking dumb. And to just be like, all I can do is send good vibes and blessings. No, 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 no. Or thinking, I'm just going to be self-serving and satisfy my carnal pleasures, get as much money, fuck everybody else. And, it's like it's either total hedonism or total, I don't even know what would the word be, just being a fucking eerie-feary hippie type. It's like, no, it's both. And if you can walk both well, then you'll be successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. It's always that fucking duality. Like, even I found, so I was actually just, good old Facebooking someone in a random country they have no idea today about serious shit, quote unquote. And we were basically talking about how could you word it? There's a lot of these like movements that sort of come across as ideologies and silver bullets basically.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of them, you have this phenomena where like it's either people who have specialized in teaching it themselves and are making money off it,
Yeah.
like indirectly, or it's like unemployed sort of neat people, like stereotypical bohemian, like does yoga, hates the idea of parents, blah blah blah.
Mem drive.
Yeah, doesn't drive, all that shit.
No. I'm just making friends right now. Mem drive.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Yeah, you could sum it up, in one word that way. Um, and it's like that was really obvious to me with my experience with it because I came in as the scientist, like,
Yeah.
and I guess that's what I sort of mean by a divide. Like, when you go into science and you meet people who have just been focused on STEM their entire life, and it's like STEM is their philosophy.
Yeah.
Their attitude is basically that,
Yeah.
like, everything, including self-help and so on, is just pointless subjectivity. Basically, it's like they almost take just do it to like its ultimate end. They're just like,
Yeah.
well, just do science, and like, who cares about even writing down goals or feelings or anything, because
Yeah.
yeah. But then it's like obviously it's wrong. But it's really hard to reconcile those two things. Yeah.
I I don't have a hard time with it. I don't know why I don't have a hard time with it. Maybe it's because I also came from a scientific background. It's like for me it was like 4.5 years of straight biology, and it's like I really did hate eerie fairy hippie types, and I I think it was the drugs.
Mm.
I think it was maybe like a couple of acid trips where
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
and and music.
Mm.
It's like there's this inherent magic in music that I refuse to just attribute to a cosmic coincidence. You know? And it's too perfect. And for that was just like it just opened the doorway to belief. And I found that when I opened myself to that doorway of belief and idea that there's magic in the system, how do I put it? Through that, the more I allowed it into my life, the more I saw of it, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah.
It's like there's a Bible phrase. I'm going to butcher it terribly, but it's like the closer when you make a move to get closer to God, God gets closer to you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Again, that's I can't quote directly. Again, I don't get hung up on the details, but in the grand scheme of things, I have found that it's like when I make room for that sort of magic in my life, it comes. And I don't question the source. I just appreciate it. And the more that you're grateful and have gratitude, etc., the better it works. But at the same time, I'm not quoting Jesus directly here. I'm quoting Zoidberg dressed as Jesus, but fucking at some point, the guys in Futurama are in serious trouble. And they go, help us, Jesus, and fucking Zoidberg goes, I help those who help themselves, and whoop, 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 out. And it's just, that's exactly it. It's like, you can't just sit on your ass going, like, picturing the nice things that are going to happen to you in your life. You're not going to get anywhere. It's like, you picture yourself doing the work, and then you do the work, and if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The middle path for me, it's like, I suppose part of my philosophy comes to, and am I rambling too much? Do you want to get something in before? Okay. So I dabbled in Taoism a little bit, I suppose, and in that comes this idea that there's the duality of existence, and I always attribute it to male and female. Okay, so you've got the masculine rational framework of the world. Okay, like, you know, it's like, but then there's also the feminine, mystic, unexplained, random shit. You know, that to me, I see it very much in the sexes. You know, we as guys are big and strong and kind of stupid. And so we act in the world in a very linear, blocky fashion, you know. We lift the heavy things, we build the house, you know. And then you've got the feminine who are specialized more in that emotional intelligence, that sort of beauty, aesthetic. I mean, fuck it, look at our just bodies. They're gorgeous. You know, we're awkward and functional, and they're just fucking beautiful. I could talk for hours just about that. But for me, it's like I don't see these opposites or two things that could never be brought together. I see them as opposite halves of the same equation, and without a bit of A and a bit of B, you can't have babies. You can't have new things born into the world without that union of randomness or chaos and order. So, yeah, so it's like the hippie side is very feminine. It's like positive vibes, thinking about good shit, only good, nah. And then you've got like, oh, fuck it, I don't give a shit about anybody else. I'm going to go start this company. I'm going to have sex with hookers with all my money, and I'm going to buy a yacht. Yeah, it's like, either can work on its own, but they're truly powerful and done correctly when they're both used in a balanced and harmonious fashion. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, I want to acquire resources so that I can do good, I think is the correct equation, you know?
Yeah.
It's this combination of altruism, but altruism thinking just about other people is useless, because then you've got the like SJW types that just go and protest, thinking that protest is going to achieve everything, as opposed to that sort of philanthropist model, which is, I believe in this. If I sort my life out and then can push my influence out from me as that center, that's where Peterson comes in with his whole clean your room mentality. It's all about cleaning your room. Your room is simply an extension of yourself. And you're increasing your domain of influence by bringing order. So if your room's a fucking mess and it's chaotic, then you exist in chaos, and your circle of influence is really, really fucking little. But the more order that you can put out in yourself on the inside and outside, then people will flock to that because they need that help too. You know? And before I fucking keep talking about that and be a hypocrite, it's like, look at this place. Like, look at that! Look at that! That's disgusting!
Yeah, good.
I was supposed to be fucking cleaning my room today, and it hasn't happened. My workshop is almost as bad. Like, I feel guilty. I had to show you that. I really had to, because I'm just dying inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, where were we?
Well, to me, the clean your room thing almost like leads into the you should be making money out of whatever you do thing, because it's like any move that you're going to make to sort of expand your influence is going to be something along the lines of, you know, like using collected funds, say, you know, to rent a hall or, you know, pay for marketing or something. So it's like you can never really get around it.
But then I would say it's like the universe is still going to send you projects that you're going to have to do for free. And you might not get a monetary value out of it, but you might at the very least find, like, one, learn something else, or two, be connected to somebody that you know through that sort of, I don't want to call them a pledge, what would you call them? Like, fucking projects. I've got friends who it's like, I can see that little glimmer of amazing in them, and I just want to help buff it out, you know? And so I suppose, yeah, projects. It's terrible to objectify them like that, but it's like, you know, Kind's an example. We shouldn't fucking mention names. Whoops. Let's call him K, and then my other one can be A. But that's the problem. It's like, I'm still a project. That's why I feel it's like I'm not gonna make a difference. But it's like if you are shining as brightly as you're able to, all right, amidst this bloody chaos and darkness, it's like people who can see that will flock towards you, and they'll either be in a position to help you or you'll be in a position to help them. And I suppose that, again, nautical term, in the harbor when the tide comes in, the ships rise together, not at different rates, you know? So I think ultimately it's like, if you're supposed to help somebody, they will hit your path. And if they can contribute, sweet. If they can't contribute, then... So it's like, if I find that there's someone who I know can afford it, and they want something from me, and it's not going to hurt them to help me out, and they're not taking it seriously, if I'm doing it for free, then yeah, sure, I'll be like, yep, cash money. You know, but at the moment, it's like, I'm not going to have a Patreon and a paywall or whatever for like my content or whatever. Just one, I don't think my content's good enough, and two, it's not really costing me anything other than time, and by doing it, I'm benefiting it anyway. So, yeah. So it's like all my free stuff is free. All my products cost because they cost me. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like the comedy shows I do. I don't do them for money, but sometimes I just get paid random.
Okay.
Nothing a lot. It's like I've had like a $20 note slipped in my pocket like once or twice, but it's like, I don't do that for money. I do it because I love doing it. But if they're in a position to, they will. So it's like, yeah. Oh, hello. No. Hoss is here.
Smile, you're on camera, bitch.
He's not on camera yet. Come here. Come here.
Where's the camera?
Closer. Come closer. Come closer. Come closer. This is Hoss. This is my younger brother.
So, Hoss, what really did happen in 9/11?
He can't hear you. He just asked, so Hoss, what really happened in 9/11? Did you hear that? It said, Rothschilds. Whew. Anyways, come for the self-help. Stay for the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I can put a second headphone on you. Do you want to be here for this?
I've just finished up with my work. I don't want to interrupt. I've already done that.
Okay.
But anyways,
we'll talk later.
Subscribe and follow him on Facebook. Promotion.
Ah! That was supposed to go into the big thing, but I hit the keyboard and slammed a chord, and it just went straight into my ears and nowhere else. Okay, I need a minute. Let's just...
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, shut the fuck up. He's telling me that my vape's tiny. It's not how fucking big it is, it's how you use it. It's fucking adorable.
What flavor you got?
I don't know. Anyway, we'll get back to this. Good seeing you. We'll catch up later. Alright, where were we?
Yeah, where were we? Yeah, 9/11.
Can we not do conspiracy theories until we've won them over as, like, rational, like, free-thinking individuals, and then bring in the crazy shit, you know?
Yeah, only on Wednesdays. Conspiracy Wednesdays.
Why Wednesday?
It's just us. It's a conspiracy.
Is it because it's... I get it. Because it's hump day, right? It's the top of the pyramid.
Yeah. That's it.
That's definitely it. Yeah, so we do it at noon on a Wednesday because that's the exact half of the week. It's the apex of the Illuminati triangle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew you were part of it, my man.
Yeah.
All right. Back on the railroads. So, I've been thinking about demographics for like, again, I don't want to use the word self-help, but like books that tell you how shit might be sorted out. I don't know, because
Yeah.
that sort of covers like politics as well in a way.
All right.
So, I mean, thinking there's probably more. Do you know what Oedipu is? It Oedipu? Oedipu? How Peterson says it? Anyway, like people who've been smothered basically or been spoiled. By
Oh yeah. Like an Oedipus complex. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I think like you have those people, and then you have people who are legit damaged.
Yeah. I wouldn't discredit Oedipus complexes as not being damaged. They're just so bubble wrapped that when they do hit the world, they get very damaged very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a good point, is that there's really not much difference after the damage is done, right?
Yeah, I'm currently, it's funny that you mentioned that. I was just going through a chapter on 12 Rules for Life, and it's talking about how it's like the Christian framework was very important. You need that framework, that rigid church format to nurture that free-thinking aspect, but when you break that away, you're basically fucked because you're in chaos, and then you have to like rebuild that order. Yeah. So it's like when you've got like that Oedipal complex, that say like really overbearing father or that sheltering mother, it's, and I get quite hostile towards my mum when she tries to rebuild that framework around me with like, what would you like for dinner? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I have a completely different schedule to you. I probably won't be feeding myself today because I don't need to eat at set hours all the time. Or just like, there's a clashing there. Ultimately, it's like, if you're in this framework of being super smothered, at some point you're going to go, fuck this. And depending on how far away you blast that framework around you, you find yourself sauteed in chaos, if you will. You're just surrounded by it. And when that happens, yeah, you're basically out on your own and you're reorientating yourself. And then it's like you've got damaged people, I suppose, who've had nothing. And then they find somebody who has a little fragment of the truth, and they find a role model, and from that role model they start rebuilding, you know? But in terms of demographic in business, at the moment, like just based on like the groups that I've like seen, it's a lot of chicks running businesses and doing quite successfully because they're very orderly in their day-to-day lives. And in order to run a business, you need to be quite like, I'm shit at it. I'll start a project, but I get very bored of the mundane day-to-day shit. Yeah. But I want to say conservative people, but that's probably Peterson. I'm just echoing some Peterson there. It's like conservative, orderly people tend to be the ones getting into self-help. But it depends on how you approach it. Like if you approach it from that spiritual hippie side, you can get there as well. If you find stuff like Napoleon Hill or Florence Scovel Shinn, you can be that sort of hippie and go, I'm using the power of the secret for good vibes. But then if they can get through to you that you also need to put in some action, then yeah. So I'm struggling to approach the problem directly. Yeah. Sorry, you can put us back on course.
I don't know. As usual, it's good to hear the rambles because I feel like it is in a way. What's the typical way to say it? It's like if you're trying to talk about something that can't be named, all you can do is draw a circle around it.
Yeah. Describe the color red.
Yeah. Just start listing red things forever. So, you could start bringing up controversial stuff now. Like,
I mean, how long have we been going?
Yeah, that's a good point actually. 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not a bad length for like an intro. But I mean, how controversial do you want to get?
Oh, not that controversial. I don't know. I more meant like I more meant contentious. That's what I was going for. Because I think it's probably a point that we differ on. I'm not sure though.
Go on.
So the the reason I like Zizek is because, and not just Zizek. I shouldn't make it a thing about Zizek. And sort of, I guess I've been moving more back towards the STEM mindset basically, and Zizek's
Bear,
been one
bear
of
in mind, I haven't looked at Zizek in a while, so I don't know. I can barely remember. I just remember the sniffling and the accent. Go on.
yeah. No, I'll I'll explain everything. It's basically a simple principle. So Zizek talks about the problems of the commons, like pollution and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
and he says rather than trying to reconnect with nature, um, we should do the exact opposite. We should basically become really like hyper disconnected to the point
Yeah.
where we're basically like independent of nature.
Yeah.
And what he's really saying is that like technology has triumphed in a way. Like he's almost saying that, and up until this point, it's been like nature is the main
Yeah.
regulator, and now we sort of have like sufficient consciousness and technology that. Well, he points out the difference between technological utopia and normal utopia, right? Because
Yeah.
like at any point in human history, like in theory, we could have had an ordinary utopia where everyone just stops being a dick, basically. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Like a single tribe in Native American culture, as opposed to a bunch of different tribes killing each other.
yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
could have it at any scale, right? Obviously,
Well, I define them as sort of quite utopian in that they'd stopped, like they'd had a system, their system worked, and it was conserved for X amount of time.
yeah,
All right, their impact on nature was negligible, and they were working. I mean, obviously, it's slightly rose-tinted because my knowledge base isn't that great, but at the same time, it's like they had a reasonably stable bison population. They'd had it figured out. It was like they were in tune with the system around them. But go on, yeah.
yeah. So I guess the great thing about Zizek is he just paints it really well the way he says it. He said one thing. He said, "Think about nature. We like to think of it as sort of Mother Nature. Like that's the image that we're constantly throwing today. Like
Yeah.
hashtag feminism. It's like this sort of caring, provident force that keeps things in balance." And he says, this is in a lot of ways bullshit. That in reality, nature. What does he say? It's like one after another giant disaster. Like nature, by definition, sort of can have absolutely everything just be destroyed, and there's not necessarily any ordered direction whatsoever, apart from evolution, of course.
Okay. What do I address first? Okay, let's address the whole Mother Nature thing. I think Mother Nature is perfect. It's a perfect analogy because, one, yes, it's nurturing. Yes, it brings life. And three, ultimately, it's even when it's at its most grotesque, it's beautiful. Okay? And when it is violent and horrible, the term hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. Like, I'm sorry, it's fitting.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the most dangerous, horrible, messed up fucking typhoons and tsunamis are given female names. Alright? Hurricane Earl ain't doing shit. Hurricane Irene is breaking your fucking house.
Yeah.
Alright? And no matter how bad it gets, when nature destroys its creations or its, its little babies, it never totally destroys them. So, like, even a forest fire, for fuck's sake, stuff comes back up, and it's necessary. It's part of the cycle. Again, cycles, female.
Yeah.
You know? and so I suppose that's why I've always lent on that whole Mother Nature, and if we look at all the like mystic traditions, the sun is the father, not
Yeah.
sun father, because simply put, it's like that's the ordered schedule, a day-night cycle that's orderly, rigid, and then everything else around that is that feminine, does that sort of...
Yeah.
And Peterson talks about how that Mother Nature also comes back to the fact that we evolved due to female selection, not male selection. They're the ones that pick to have sex with us. So we have to tailor ourselves to her, not the other way around. So again, that's why still, for most species, it's Mother Nature. It's female decision. And that's one of the reasons why I don't buy into a lot of feminist ideology. It's just like, the world is ultimately yours. We're just here for the ride. We're here to make you happy. We're here to move that couch. We're here to kill that bear. Like,
yeah, we're definitely gonna have to have like multiple episodes on gender because we're both like so passionate about it and have gotten into it a lot.
Yeah. But I also disagree with what you've said to me, Zizek, is like that we've like conquered nature and that we need to just ignore it and move ahead. It's like that system is really, really, it's a good idea for terraforming other planets. All right? It's like if you can build disaster-proof houses and societies, you have basically won the planet game. And at that point, you should be able to terraform another planet and say, go live on, to pick Uranus. You should be able to survive on Uranus because you've got temperature-controlled domes and blah, 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 blah. And that's cool. And you should fuck off and do that, okay? We should be putting more money into extraterrestrial travel and terraforming and building, like, let's say you can build a little fucking dome in the middle of the Sahara and have a bountiful oasis that's completely human-made and self-sustaining, all right? But at the end of the day, you're still going to have plants there. You're still going to have animals there until you can make your own meat, until you can, it's, no matter, unless we are literally plugging ourselves into a machine, we are never going to be disconnected from nature because we are part of nature. We are not isolated from it. It's like, one of my Christian friends has a beautiful joke that I absolutely love, and it's like, so a bunch of scientists one day figured out how to make life. Okay? And they basically like challenged God and said, it's like, we can make a human being too. And so God like rolls on up. I don't know if I'm telling the joke quite right. And he rolls on up and he's just like, okay, well, they're there in the middle of like infinite space and whiteness with nothing. And they're like, okay, cool. And God's like, all right, are you ready? They're like, yeah, we're ready. And so God makes like the dirt, and they've got nothing, and they're like, hey, can we have a cup of dirt? I've butchered that joke, and I'm sorry if Rowan ever hears this. Dude, I'm sorry, but like the sentiment's there. It's like you cannot create out of thin air, and until you can, you're not going to be able to like exclude yourself from nature.
Okay.
Unless you live in a completely cyber universe, but then the physical computer that exists still needs to physically exist somewhere in nature. So I immediately, obviously I haven't heard his point or his discussion, but it's like harmony with nature is the ultimate goal. And I'm not talking just like living in trees and being completely technology free, but reducing your global impact as well as being able to survive the brunt of her wrath without hurting her too much would be the ultimate goal in my eyes. Utilize the forces that you can, so wind, solar, etc., and don't be so exploitative, because you're this little thing, all right? So let's say you're a fucking little bit of plankton in the ocean. You're not going to suddenly figure out a way to outsmart the rest of the ocean. You still need it to live. So you'd better figure out a way to exist with it in harmony as opposed to working against it. I mean, I feel it's the underlying principle of all religions exist in harmony with everything around you. So, yeah, that's my little, like, eco rant.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone would disagree to that point. Like, I think ultimately if you beat anyone down, even like the biggest, like, what would you call it, technocratic, like, don't want to name names, but initials FP, maybe, ring a bell, studies AI at Waikato.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, like, even someone like that, I'm sure if you beat them down enough, they'd be like, yeah, like, we need harmony with nature, obviously, because otherwise you're just going straight to the jaws.
What's really funny is, like, he used to do a shitload of drugs,
Yeah.
And he used to, like, love and cuddle his cats, and I don't know if he's still a vegetarian or not, it's like...
No, he's eating his cats now.
Okay, so they...
I'm just joking.
I realize, but it's like, how do you come from a world and completely leave it all behind and disregard everything in it? It's like, no, the point is to, fuck. hang on. I'm trying to remember the exact words and try and nail the voice. You need to go down to the depths and resurrect your father from the underworld. All right, so that was like a terrible Jordan Peterson interpretation. But basically, it's like, you can throw away the old system, but part of the growing up process is to bring back those things from that system that reared you that still work and need to be conserved.
Mm.
And to just go, nah, fuck it all, it doesn't work, that's nihilism. That's an inherent, like, I'm leaving behind everything. No system is worth my time. No system works.
Yeah. I think,
it's like...
Well, there are people out there like that view. Again, I think that is not a straw man, but I don't think like many people would actually strongly put that position forward, I guess. It's like, maybe you could say, because another thing I like about Gigi, because he says that you can't disconnect capitalism from philosophy. He says, like, and it's not a political thing, it's a philosophical thing, because he says that, if our philosophy really was at odds with capitalism as much as we often say it is, then capitalism wouldn't be on the top, or it would be much, or there would be something real fishy going on.
Fucking ultra-leftists wouldn't have fucking iPhones and Doc Martens now, would they?
Yeah, exactly, there you go, that's basically what he's saying. So then maybe you could take an approach like by saying, okay, you need to rescue your father from the underworld, but it's almost like the innovation cycle that capitalism has put in, it's almost like technology has become its own object, where like the cycle of innovation and recycling, even though it's very, very bad, like in that, like 95%, or I don't know what the real number is, but most of it is just waste. But there is like that element of recycling and taking the older version and making it better. You could say like we've gotten that to a point where like it's its own object, so then it's almost like self-sufficient in that regard.
Well, I mean, the other thing about capitalism that we really, really shouldn't forget, and again, I used to be an anti-capitalist when I didn't fucking know any better, when I was a fucking deranged uni student, okay? And
I'm sure we would have been that guy.
and I mean, I still hold on to the altruistic philosophies of, say, like, socialism to some extent, okay? But at the same time, it's like, people want stuff. You're not going to stop people wanting stuff, okay? And free market capitalism is the only way I have found or could really see as being a way for, one, people to retain individual sovereignty, all right, as well as acquire stuff peacefully. You know, it's like it fits the model. It's like, yes, it's fucked up in its current state, but all of these people that are fucking running around in Che Guevara shirts, which they paid money for, they're going, oh, fuck capitalism, we need to be fully communist. It's like, they neglect to see the bodies that came from that.
Mm.
You know, the mountains of corpses, and it's like a friend of mine today referred to his parents as bougies. Okay, and I was just like, because they're buying a house. It's an expensive house, and it's like, yeah, it's a lot of money and shit, and okay, but they didn't get that money because of birthright. They got that money because they worked for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's not a perfect system, all right? And because it's not perfect, like it's like any game of Monopoly. Eventually, everybody has, only a small percentage of the initial players have the resources. So there need to be corrections all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say the only big issue that we have at the moment is government is more on their side as opposed to retaining the rights of the individual. You know, it's like that crony capitalism model. I need to brush up on my Adam Smith. It is Adam Smith that I'm thinking of, isn't it? Hang on. One quick Google search later.
Yeah, it's Adam Smith.
Yeah. The old Scottish economist, like his initial definition of what capitalism should look like is quite beautiful. It's like providing services or products that are beneficial to the world. If you're able to provide a service or a product that enriches the lives of others and the development of others without causing a negative impact, you've basically won. You know? It's like nobody's going to complain about Apple or Google making these amazing phones that make our lives better and more convenient if they weren't using slave labor, charging us through the nose, etc.
Mm.
You know, it's like if there wasn't that element of evil, say like Google monitoring everything you do, Google would be the perfect service. But Google doesn't charge money, so of course they have to do all these things to derive value from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the communist argument always comes back to and says, oh, profits are the, it's the blood of the people that makes profits. You know, it's like, not necessarily. Profits are ultimately you providing more to the system than what you take, and you've got a shitload of stuff because so many people want that thing you have. You sell it to them, get money, and you've got a big stockpile of money because so many people want that service or product that you're offering.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not saying that's 100% true in exactly what's going on, because there is also the fact that employees exist. The employees need to be paid, and generally speaking, they pay their employees like shit. That is, I mean, I'm sure that phones would be more expensive if they were made locally at minimum wage in this country as opposed to minimum wage in China.
Mm.
You know? But again, they're still overpriced because it only costs them like $50 to make a phone, but all that R&D value and that big monolithic construct that is corporate, all right, which is not, I hate corporate. That's why I'm a small company, and I plan on keeping that shit as lean as possible. I hate having to go through multiple managers if I'm unhappy with something. I want to be able to go to my boss and say, "Oi, mate, you're being a cunt." The guy that pays I'm more for that small business mentality.
Mm.
But for something as complicated as and intricate as a phone, obviously, it's like it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the bigger you get, the more accountable you are to stupids. All right, like you're only as smart as your dumbest member. And unfortunately, most corporates decide to hire managers, and managers never really know the job. They're just managing people.
Mm.
You know, it's like there's a fault in the structure itself, I suppose. Again, this is a completely different topic and completely out of... Yeah, but it's like they get so big, of course they're going to fall to pieces without a unifying vision. And unfortunately, when you give people a lot of power, unless they're really well adjusted, they don't use it well all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we've completely diverted from
Yeah. So I guess
capitalism and eco and blah blah blah.
I guess to bring it back to like, because I raised that how he said politics is inseparable to philosophy, and it's like you sort of have to be careful how you negotiate that. I guess it's interesting you brought up the bourgeois thing, because that's almost the crux of it in a way, because the original meaning of bourgeois is actually it just means indoors, or like in the city. Basically, it means like urban,
Yeah.
and it's sort of like maybe that's one way you could approach the problem. You could say, well, really, if everyone had a house, like if every person on the planet had a house, that's like the major expense of people's life, right? Is paying off their mortgage. It's like if nobody had to pay off a mortgage, like where would the money go? Like, who knows? And that could be a force itself that could be reckoned with, and then almost in a way like that would become transcendent to capital, where it's like all the objects have been delivered, and that's why you have technological utopia as opposed to actual utopia, because it's like that's when the game changes. But sorry, and I'm stumbling through this as well. Another way to look at it might be like, so there's like this symbolic conception of male and female where, to use the graphic imagery, like the woman surrounds the man, right? And that sort
The
of...
woman what, sorry?
The woman surrounds the man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like physically and also abstractly.
Yeah.
Saucy stuff going on here.
I don't know if my eyebrows are doing what I want them to do, but right now I'm hoping they're going sexy eyebrows. Anyway, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so... But then I remember talking to people about AI all the time when I was really into it. And I would always ask them this question. I would say, what would you say is more dangerous? People getting computer chips put in their brains, or putting on like power suits, like Iron Man suits? And well, actually, go ahead. Let's make it interactive. Take a shot. Like, what one do you think would be more dangerous?
And they're as bad as each other, really.
Okay.
It's like, if there's something inside of me that is able to override, that's bad. All right. Okay. If I'm in something that's able to override me, that is also bad.
Okay.
Because it's that potential of removing my sovereignty that is fucked. Either way,
Okay.
it's like, I mean, you could cause more physical collateral damage immediately in a mech suit, I suppose. But if you've got something that's able to override your free will in the name of the Borg or whatever the machine wants you to do, that's probably more destructive. But at the same time, it's like, I suppose I'm against that technological integration, even though I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah.
It's like, but there's a point where I just go, no. It's like, if it's
like you don't want other intelligence impeding on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I'm struggling to do the right thing with just my intelligence.
Yeah.
Because I'm lugging around that monkey brain Labrador that just wants to eat, fight, shit, and fuck. And sleep. That's important. All right.
Gotta be lazy. Priority number one.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not. At that point, I would just advocate. It's like, okay, if you guys really want to go down that technological route, leave me to go live in the mountains somewhere.
Yeah, which you've echoed before. Yeah.
Yeah, before that, like, great expanse of society happened.
Okay. So, like, you sort of, like, intellectually acknowledge that it's inevitable, but you just don't want to be a part of it?
Yeah. I don't think how to put it? It's like, I really like my phone. I really like using my phone. It's very handy. Okay? Could I survive without it? Yes. And ultimately, I always want to be able to choose that option.
Mm.
You know, it's like, because technology is still frail. Technology has not had the millennia to evolve into dealing with this world. Technology can deal with its own shit. If these fall on a rock, they're not fucking healing.
Yeah.
All right? If I fall on a rock, I'm likely to heal. All right?
Yeah.
Maybe not at 100%, but I'll still be functional. All right? It does not have the track record of biology.
Yeah.
That's... So anybody that's rushing to integrate, what would happen if the brain chip that you've inserted into yourself, or the mech suit, catches a fucking virus?
Yeah.
Good luck, son. Good luck. I want to be able to rip that fucking chip out of my skin if I fucking have to. So it's like, at no point am I going to integrate my phone into my body permanently. I'll have a cool Pip-Boy, like in Fallout, sure. But what happens if I run out of battery?
Yeah.
Oh, or is it feeding off of my life force? You know what I mean? Yeah?
I think that is the way that it would come in, though, is that you would almost have, like you know, your SD card on your phone? You'd probably have, like, a slot on the side of your head or something, but I guess, yeah, like, again, I'm on the same camp, and I think most people would be, that, you know, even Elon Musk said it, right, that, like, we should be extremely careful of what we do with technology, basically, you know, and don't be quick to turn it on when you think it's like the next big thing. But I'll sort of redirect it to the point that I was trying to get at, is that so my reasoning was, and this sort of comes from a lot of the organizational science, like the self-organizing molecules and stuff like that, which I'm sure you learned about in biology.
Yeah.
And the argument's simple. It's that most people would intuitively say that the chip in the head would be more dangerous, purely because it has more ability to, like, retroactively attack your consciousness, whatever, you know, control your mind. It's obviously more dangerous, but
What's like saying what's more dangerous, dementia or physical cancer?
yeah, exactly. It's a mind versus body thing, right? But
Yeah.
But I think the answer is actually the opposite, and it's counterintuitive, but not so much when you think about it in terms of analogy. So it's essentially like, if you look at things that have lost their autonomy over evolution, they have things that have been internalized, basically. Like, for example, you know, mitochondria get internalized into the cell, and then they sort of stop being their own thing. And
Yeah.
so in the same stroke, you can basically say, well, I mean, you know, even people get internalized into societies, and that's when they lose their control. It's not the reverse, like when they get propaganded or something.
It's the Pinocchio Treasure Island mentality. Sorry, not Treasure Island, Pleasure Island.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like when it's like your needs are being taken care of, and you don't have any agency.
Yeah.
It is at that point you're under the mercy and control of tyranny, and you're basically a slave.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you're alluding to, or have I missed the point?
Yeah, basically. Or even you could take another approach that, like, say you're completely surrounded by a power suit or something, or say you have, like, bionic arms and legs and eyes and ears, and, you know, that's not implausible that you would have, like, an organic core and then a mechanical outside.
RoboCop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, then you can't even really perceive or interact with the world without the aid of the technology. Whereas, at least if you had the chip in your brain, you still have, like, you know, the brain is superior to the chip, because it's like the brain is the big main thing, and the chip is like an augment. So, yeah.
But then you could also argue that point, it's like the soul is that thing existing within the body, and the body is the product of the however many millennia of evolutionary sort of baggage. All right? What's in control? when I'm hungry, all I can think of is food, and that's not my soul that's hungry. You know, just to push it in that direction. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good.
You sort of, when we were discussing like politics, I just want to come back to this point. It's because we've bounced this is actually a really good intro lesson because our ideologies on like a few little things have been touched on.
Yeah.
And then if for those thousands of millions of subscribers that eventually do like listen to this, they can then tell us, all right, what we actually want you to focus on. Because that was interesting in that intro, but you didn't actually delve into it. When you're sort of talking about the concept of politics, okay, the fundamental basis for capitalist thinking is property, right? All right, just going back to it, it's like, so you were saying before, it's like if people didn't have to pay a mortgage, what would it be like? And I've never actually understood, who are you paying for that land?
Yeah.
All right, it's like, who said someone owned this land so that you have to now pay to own that land? You know, like, so for me, a nomadic lifestyle is considerably more stable in that regard, except when you hit another nomadic, it's that competition for resources. And you as a male, all right, it's your job, okay? Even now when ladies are, okay, this is probably going to piss off some people, it's like, even now when we're in that post-enlightenment, feminist, post-feminist world, right, where women are also acquiring resources and working in the system, all right, they still always want to find a guy who's able to provide more resources than they're able to. Yeah? It's about, and this is my biologist speaking, I suppose, biologically, it's about secure the resources so that the females walk past and say, damn, he's got a lot of resources. Like, wallets, for fuck's sake, all right, are still made of leather, and the meat on the inside now isn't, meat, it's money. You know, it's like, it's your ability to bring home that carcass, slam it down, and say, look at how good I am at bringing resources. So that territory and resource security is what drives sexual selection. Okay? So the big house, the nice car, etc., is fundamental to human mating rituals. Which fucks with the system. Like, capitalism seems to be that way, where it's at least stable and we're not killing each other for stuff, generally. Is it still an unfair system? Yes. But because we've got that biological baggage and we're not purely rational beings, it's kind of how we're stuck. So we shouldn't be focusing on a completely new system. It's how do we fix the issues that are inherent in the system?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry to have taken us away from our body-mind implant shit, but I felt that point needed to be addressed. Yeah. Yeah, and now I've sort of stuck us somewhere.
Well, just to note, Zizek sort of, I don't actually know where he stands on this point, because I feel like he must be sort of a bit of a troll, because in some videos he says like, oh yeah, like capitalism is he calls it Fukuyamaism, which is the idea that we've reached a system that is sufficient and that we don't need to like create a new thing. So like we don't need to replace capitalism with anything more to get to technological utopia, basically. And he says, sometimes you'll say like, oh yeah, so basically all we need to do is tinker with capitalism, basically, to a point where we can get all of its, bugs out of it, and then it'll be the perfect system. And then other times he says like, oh well, the irony is that as soon as we get a technological utopia, capitalism will be redundant. And I guess to make it really, really, really controversial, and to bring it back to the gender thing, I had this sort of idea that it's almost that females would not even be viable in a technological utopia. Like, in the fashion of Zizek, I'm going to completely flip something that's taken for granted as a truth. See, we're all told this idea that for all of the past, basically, men have been dominant, and it's only recently that women have risen up. And then, hypothetically, in the future, it's going to be like more feminine because, like cooperation is more feminine than aggression, and so on. Whereas I would almost say that it might be the exact opposite. That once we reach technological utopia, like that gender itself will almost be challenged. It's like, what is, and that's sort of what I was saying with the nurture beating nature thing. It's almost like you could word it that way. You could say, up until this point, we've been under control of nature, therefore the women have been in charge, really.
Yeah.
And in the near future, it's gonna flip, and it'll become like an actual male-dominated culture, life, whatsoever. I don't know.
I'd actually say that if that's your logic, like your steps in logic of how it's going to progress, it's actually going to be the men that are phased out.
Okay.
Because that I'd say competitively, all right, physical competition at least is what's one of the things that have got us to where we are now. Women have emotional status style competition with each other, in that it's so who's most pretty and who has the most friends and who's the most popular. Where in masculine, it's who acquires the most resources, etc. Obviously, it's like part of your. So it's like the guy who is most envied is the guy who has the most shit, because by having the most shit, he's the one that has the easiest access to girls, right?
Yeah, king of the world.
Yeah, all right. The feminine is not that. It's who's the one that everybody loves, because she's,
The most,
and
the
so
most desired.
If the machines are doing all the work, then you don't need that physical competitive work doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
I should interject though before you take down the point that you've perceived, because I do actually agree with you, and it's funny. I've thought about the truly transsexual being that will emerge in the future, because obviously there will be one, and Peterson's even said this to a point, and this is one of the few things that he agrees with Zizek, is that the second the pill was invented, that fundamentally, changed the role of the woman, because as soon as they could control, the reproduction, it's like, that is, it's like fundamentally, it's almost like masculinizing the feminine.
Yeah.
So when I think of the ideal transsexual being in the future, to me it would be very feminine. Like, it would be a society of feminine-looking people. Like most people would have that feminine beauty, and but they wouldn't have they wouldn't be ovulating or anything, and it would be like purely controlled. Like anyone could choose when they were going to go into a reproductive mode. So,
and when the machines are doing all the work, you don't need to be functional.
Exactly. So it's sort of like they would be outwardly feminine but inwardly masculine, and because the inner matters the most, you would say it's almost like they would be like mentally masculine. They would behave more masculine because everyone in that society would be working with technology by definition, right? It's like the only useful people would be the people repairing the machines. I'm not making that statement as strongly as you could imply, right? But you know what I mean, basically. So yeah, it's a weird way to look at it.
I mean, I would say in that sort of it's more masculinizing women by with the pill. It's like, I agree. Which is also sort of feminizing men to some extent. It's like the ones looking for commitment now are guys in my general discourse with them.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
I mean, I'm the same. It's like I'm being very selective with my sexual partners. All right, I'm very selective because I understand it's like she has control of when she doesn't have a baby, so I'm fucking putting the rubber on because I don't know. It's like I'm a worthwhile catch, and I realize that if a girl wants to really get her nails in, she'll make me accountable for a baby. Okay, so I'm always going to fucking wear a rubber. All right, I'm going to choose not to have sex most of the time if I don't think she's worth it. I'm only going to put my dick in someone who is worth the potential of me having a baby with them. So it's completely flipped that because biologically it's always been, I, as a male, am going to fuck as many different things as possible to spread my cheap, easy-to-manufacture gametes all over the place. Now, because I understand if I knock some bird up, it is my responsibility to take care of her and that baby, I'm not going to be manipulated by some floozy to basically be her workhorse for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So that has inverted it, because where it used to be, the gamble was on the feminine to make sure that she picked a good guy that was going to stick around and look after her. It's now to a point where she's trying...
Yeah. And that's,
so...
Just a note there, that I find it funny, you get another sort of pseudo-paradox of the whole woman symbolized as nature thing there, because in that view or metaphor, well, it's not really a metaphor, but you know what I mean, like, it's the man that's the nature, you know, it's like Beauty and the Beast. It's like the beast is taken in by the woman and tamed. So it's like the woman then is functioning as nurture in society. So,
yeah.
But we have to get into that on the gender video, because like, yeah, I find that really interesting how the feminine holds both, whereas the masculine has none. And I'm sure, you've thought about this a lot as well.
Yeah. Breakups are good for that sort of deep internal thinking.
Yeah, let's have a breakup episode. We can just talk about all the fucking relationship fails that we both had. Yeah. That'd be a good podcast.
That'd be a bitter fucking video, man. Yeah, like, the problem is, it's like to have a solely gender or solely, it's like all of these things, and that's, again, coming to that argument of transcending nature and being independent of it. It's like, you're never going to be able to isolate it, because there is no isolation. Everything is one. Hippie. And it's like, even like, let's say capitalism, it's like fucking, to quote old Alan Watts, it's like everything is a game. To quote Bill Hicks, everything is a fucking ride. It's an illusion that we're putting on ourselves so that a system can work. But ultimately, everything is encapsulated in that system of everything. It's just another little box. It's isolated, but it's not isolated because we're part of it. It's like, it does come back to that friggin' all is one Buddhist mentality, you know? And so many people quote that not knowing what that actually fucking means. And that's my big issue with hippies. My big issue with hippies is they don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. Yeah. My big issue with the other side of that fucking coin are that they all think that they know everything, and suddenly they can, you know, discount the magic and amazingness that is the world. It's like, my passion bubbles are very close to the surface. I'm getting a little bit, like, ranty. Yeah. How long have we been going? I think we've definitely pushed the hour mark. We're probably at an hour. No, we're almost possibly pushing 2. No, we're not pushing 2 hours. We're at an hour and a bit, hour and a half.
Close. Got to make a guess down to the minute.
Down to the minute. Definitely over an hour. I'd say an hour and 27 minutes.
Ooh, just as you said that, it was 1:24.
Damn, I was just like, if I'd nailed it on 1:27, I'd have just been like,
dabs for days.
Ironic dabs turn into serious dabs very quickly. Are you satisfied with how this went? Yeah. You're the one recording, so it's your show, in my opinion, even though it might end up on my YouTube channel. I don't know.
Yeah, so it'll be your decision, of course. We could just, I don't know, is even posting it on 2? Like, no, that's probably like a YouTube sanctimonious behavior, I think.
I don't mind. I'll just share it on mine. If you put it on yours, I don't care. I don't know if I've got a maximum limit on mine either.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, this was the test episode, of course.
Yeah.
And I guess like the further ones, I don't know. Do you want to do a format where like we have a set topic and maybe we lay out like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 12 talking points or whatever, however many fits the time bill.
Yeah. I really don't know.
Yeah.
It's like we've touched probably on everything I'd want to talk about, but we just never delved deep into any one of them because it's come back into something else, Probably having an overarching, so it's like, let's say, gender, and within that we're going to talk about, is male, like a talking point, let's say, it's like, is male power really a thing? It's like, is one truly supreme over the other? And then if we say go on tangents, we just keep coming back to that main point. So let's say we define the anchor at the start of the episode.
Okay.
And then basically keep each other in check if we feel the other's gone offside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be like a almost like a debate club style. Yeah.
Yeah. And just having a motif that we try and adhere to.
Okay.
And if we feel that we're veering off topic but landing on something else that we need to discuss, then I'm sure that anybody watching will ask for it. And if we feel a resonance there, we can go, okay, well, we need to go into that sphere of the Venn diagram next time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you, it's probably a good thing to ask on camera, do you have a body of work?
A body of work?
Yeah.
I not really. My progress is my body of work, I suppose. I've got the blog and the YouTube channel, but that's not really, in my opinion, good enough to call a body of work.
Yeah.
It's the body of stuff that I've published. It's like my sort of abstract thinking and the stuff that we talked about here. It's like I've not really published either on my channel or on my blog because I'm trying to do more pragmatic, like easily accessible stuff, even though ultimately what we're talking now is more akin to that foundation,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
what about yourself?
Yeah, well, so I asked for like, because that would be one way to do it as well, where like we could, in our private time, like work on things, and then like we could choose to work on the same thing, like like we commit some time, to like actually study through before, and that would make it more intense. I know that can get really overwhelming, but on the other hand, like I've already like I do have a body of work, like quite a big body of work. So like I
La-di-da. Sorry, go on.
It's all
being an asshole.
100% unpublished, by the way. To all the viewers, over 1,000 pages. Got past that little landmark a few days ago. Whoopee. And there's a cloud that looks just like a penis in front of my room.
Is it possibly telling you quit jerking yourself off with your giant body of work?
That's exactly what I was thinking. So, no, my point is that like I basically have endless topic points. Like if there's ever like a shortage, I'll just be like, all right, we're talking about like, I don't know, fucking like warrior mentality today, or like approaching life through game theory, like a whole bunch of people done that. I don't know, like fucking real contentious shit, like cultural integration, if we want to go that far, but I don't know. Yeah.
I'm definitely not like that. I'm not as like autistically anal retentive as you are.
Yeah.
I mean that with the highest esteem. Like, I don't mean that to, like, it's like, I wish I could have, like, that level of depth, but to me, everything is so holistic that I'd rather integrate it into my being.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would like to spend more time writing and putting it down, but at the same time, it's like, or researching. But it's like the things that I need to learn, I feel, get put in my path anyway.
Mm. Yeah.
That's a cop-out, really.
Well, you definitely like have reasonable what's the word? Like you've developed a way to work to make that work. Yeah. I think
It was totally by accident. It's like I had a really interesting epiphany. So I'm going to call it an epiphany. I don't know what else to call it. But the day that I woke up, or the day that I sort of, I got, I was still studying at the time, and I got really high. All right, like really high for the first time in ages. And, you know, goofed around and the usual, I'm really stoned kind of shit. But then when I got into bed and I fell asleep, I woke up after what I would call a mass information download, where the entirety of existence was shown to me from the Big Bang to right now. And I started frantically writing it down, like in the middle of the night, writing down on whatever piece of paper I had next to me, blah, blah, blah. And then I started recording it on my phone because I'm like, it's not working. I can't get it down like this. And I woke up my, like, girlfriend at the time as I was talking, and I sort of tried to piece it together the next day. I was like, I didn't actually need to write it down. It's in there.
Mm.
You know? So that's why I suppose I don't have a body of work. I am the body of work.
Yeah, yeah.
My ideas have changed, my perceptions changed, etc. And I suppose I retain that, like, Plato style oral tradition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like if you feel that you need to write it down, then you really haven't got it.
Is that something he said?
Oh, I just know that Plato used to, like, he used to make his students memorize everything. It wasn't.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Hang on, let me pull the time in quickly. Pretty sure it was all Plato. Maybe I don't fucking know. Yeah, I just used the N-word. I believe he thought that writing was it robbed the brain of the faculty of being able to remember.
Okay.
You know, I attribute this to old Plato because like that's trying to find something that this is. I suppose this is where, like, preparation would be good because then you have references in order, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So Plato on writing. So this is from Phaedrus 275 A to B. Okay, whatever the fuck that is. If men learn writing, or this, it will implant forgetfulness into their souls. They will cease to exercise memory because they rely on that which is written, calling things to remembrance no longer from within themselves, but by means of external marks. What you have discovered is a recipe not for memory, but for reminder, and it is no true wisdom that you offer your disciples, but only its semblance, for by telling them of many things without teaching them, you will make them seem to know much more, while for the most part they know nothing. And as men filled not with wisdom, but with the conceit of wisdom, they will be a burden to their fellows. So Plato is there advocating the internalization of knowledge as opposed to the acquisition of markers of knowledge. That's, you know, it's like, it comes down to that, not Trinity, the trivium, you know, it's like knowledge, understanding, and rhetoric. You know, it's like, you know, let's say 1 + 1 is 2, okay? Knowing 1 + 1 = 2, it's like you see 1 + 1, you go, that's 2. But knowing 1 + 1 and having an understanding of that, that means that you can see 2 + 2, and you can break that down into your different 1 + 1. It's like, if I know, you can then take that level of understanding to that next level and actually apply it in different situations. And then rhetoric is to be able to explain to someone 1 + 1 is 2 and how to use it. You know, it's like, it's not written down somewhere and you're reading it back to them. It's internalized and you get it. And by getting it properly, you can then pass that on to someone. And so for me, it's like, I think the reason why YouTube is the way that it is in particular, the written word, I'm nothing against it, but the oral tradition is something that is very, I mean, we were storytelling for millennia before we wrote down stuff. You know, it's like, and I feel that when we write it down, we're only crystallizing that information, and we basically put it in a time lock. So it can't learn and live the way that the oral tradition can. And YouTube, to some degree, is hearkening back to that.
Yeah.
You know, the old warrior stories by the fire, it's now this. All right? And reading is good, and I'm not saying, but guys don't read. They learn best from... And for me, I suppose philosophically, it's like, I've nothing against women. I don't think women lack agency and can't make the world better. But for me, I talk to guys because I see that they're in the most trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
So to bring it back to coaching, and that's why for me, it's like, I've stopped writing blogs and would rather do video podcasts and stuff, because you're going to read something in your voice, but I'm the one telling it to you. You should hear it in my voice.
Yeah.
Because it just, it makes it more abstract. Yeah. Yeah. There's something there. I can't quite put it into a box yet. Keep thinking about it and maybe have something for you. But it's like, I think that's important, that nuance of understanding where the speaker's coming from comes from the voice. You know, it's not your ability to write down that makes you, you know, a divine being, or the logos. It's that ability to project and use your voice. So it's not physical words, it's vibrations, because we're vibrational beings, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I mean, looking back at all of my shit, I'm very skeptical of like going down the publishing route and all of that. Well, I mean, not to make it controversial, but you hit on point number one, is that most readers are female. Even though, by the way, most authors are men. So I see it more as just a script for potential videos, which is similar why I wanted to get into it. And yeah, that's sort of the main thing I can see doing on my own channel, which doesn't even exist yet, by the way, viewers. But yeah, like just literally starting, here's like point number one in my unpublished book that I'm going to talk through, because even if you read it, it probably wouldn't make sense and come off the wrong way anyway. So
Yeah. And also, it's like, I'm sure that when you go back and read stuff that you wrote 5 years ago, you probably look, fuck, was I an idiot?
oh yeah, that's the big fun of writing. Yeah, man. Yeah. So much change.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's the other thing. It's like, if you're able to bring that, okay, that means that the potential of rambling goes down. Okay? It means that less time would be spent editing. So I'm sure a lot of the people that do those really snap editing, like really fast fire, you know, like shoe on head, or like they're able to do several takes of different stuff, stick it together into something really. So it's like you're starting with chaos and then bringing it into order. Okay. You are starting with order and pushing it through, keeping it orderly the whole time. Not saying that's bad or bringing it down, but it's like if you have an ordered framework that you then put the chaos through, then I think that could work. Or the other way around. But seriously, having edited, fuck editing.
Yeah.
Fuck editing.
And I think I'd rather edit text than video.
Yeah. It's a lot more computational resources, and you have to hear your own voice entirely too much. Entirely too fucking much. Yeah. I'd rather have, like, so what I'll personally do, it's like if I've got a discussion that I'm going to start, I'm going to just like open up a notepad or write it down. It's like, I want to make sure I mention this, I want to make sure I mention this, I want to make sure I mention this, and I won't start the video. So my latest video on fascism, check it out on my YouTube channel. I'll have had that idea bumping around in my head as I'm working and doing shit and cleaning and what have you, and I'm ordering it up here, making sure I know which points I really want to discuss, write them down, and make sure while I'm doing the video that I've at least touched on them. Yeah. So if you want to be the orderly force and I bring a lot of the chaos, that's fine. It's figuring out how we riff off of each other. Yeah. I feel that we've like come full circle to some degree.
Yep.
And if that isn't a sign that we've done it correctly, I don't know what is. I suppose the other sign is people will watch it and manage to stay with us for 2 fucking hours.
Yeah. 1 hour 42. Probably good. Okay. Yeah. Best place to end.
Yeah. Fucking 42.
Alright.
Yeah. Alright. Are you going to stop the recording or hang up on me in general?
Alright.
I don't fucking know!
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, okay.